I'll just introduce myself. I'm Rocco Bonacoria. I work for Cisco. I'm the collaboration specialist within Cisco, so I look after the collaboration portfolio across the board, so voice, video, and conferencing. We've also got Justin Kelly on the call who'll be doing the main tutorial today. Justin is our collaboration engineer within Cisco, and so over to you, Justin.
Okay, thank you, Rocco. Now, it's already happened. I was just going to warn you about, you may hear dogs barking and that kind of thing in the background, because obviously we're all working from home at the moment. So just please excuse me if that happens. I might have to run out and spray her with a water gun in a minute. Okay, let's get straight into it. What I want to do is share my screen so that you guys can see exactly what I'm seeing. And what we'll do is during the session, if you have a question, use the chat feature to raise the question, and then Rocco is going to just interrupt me and we'll cover the question as we go instead of saving it all for the end.
Thanks, Justin. What we'll do is, if everyone can stay on mute and any questions go in the chat, we'll answer it as they come through, and I'll interrupt Justin when I've got a question for him.
Perfect.
And just for those people that don't know where the chat is, do you want to explain where that is? Because I know a couple of people were a bit worried last time they couldn't find it for a while, but if you hover over the bottom of your screen, you'll get all the different icons that come up, and it's the little speech bubble there is the chat.
Speech bubble, yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so starting off, getting started, brand new to WebEx. You haven't used it before, or perhaps you're just a little unsure. A very first place that we want to go is educationwa.webex.com within your browser. Right, this is kind of your personal portal for WebEx. And what we're going to get you to do is just sign in over here. So when you hit that sign in button at the top right, it's going to ask you for your education department email address and password. So just use the same credentials that you normally use to log into your computer or whatever it may be. Now, if I switch over to my portal, I'm going to sign in here, and this is what you should see. Sorry, just got to go through the normal sign-in process. Yours may look slightly different. Okay, now we're in. And this is basically your dashboard that you'll see when you log in. You can see things like, you know, here's my personal room. Everyone in WebEx gets their own personal meeting room. It's always got that same URL, really easy to remember. Yours is going to be educationwa.webex.com/meet/your username. And all I need to do to start a meeting is really provide that. As long as they've got the web link, they can join your meeting. So before we get to that though, what I would like you to all do is download the application. So on the left-hand side here, you've got the download section. If you can please go ahead and download the WebEx Meetings desktop app if you haven't. That would be the main tool that you need on your desktop, and it looks like this, right? This one that I'm stretching around here. Basically, when you have that installed, it will allow you to quickly join a meeting or start a meeting. And, you know, it's as easy as just pressing that start a meeting button and you're going to join into your personal meeting room. Okay. Now, the other component that you likely will want to have, and I'm going to share my email here. what you're seeing here is I've just started a meeting, right? Just a regular invitation in my calendar. I'm going to invite the students that I might want to bring into the session. So Rocco, Matt, and you'll notice what you find is that on all the education department computers, we should have this little Outlook plugin. So what that does, I can just hit Add Personal Room, and you'll be able to see all of the different ways that we can join a WebEx meeting. So here we've got the big green join button. I recommend that as the easiest way for anyone to join. But alternatively, if you can't use a laptop or an iPad or an iPhone and use that join button, you can just dial in using voice. So what you do, you dial that number, you'd enter the access code, and then you'd also be a part of the same meeting. Now, thirdly, and if you're lucky enough at your school to have a video conferencing device, you can use this address. You just have to type that in. I'm going to zoom in so you can see a bit clearer. You just have to type that into the video conferencing device, and you're also part of the same meeting. Okay, so hopefully that's nice and easy. Any questions so far, Rocco?
One of the main questions was, yes, we'll be providing the recording at the end of the session. It will be posted to Solutions IT website. One of the other questions was, Justin, does this download work on a MacBook? So yes, this works both on a MacBook and a Windows PC.
Perfect. Now, if you don't see the productivity tools icon within Outlook, you can download it from here, right? You just find this WebEx productivity tools under that same download section, allow you to start, schedule, and join WebEx meetings directly from Microsoft Outlook. But from what we understand, all of the department PCs will already be preloaded with that little plugin. Nice and easy to start a meeting. Now, the other question that we commonly had was, all right, I don't want to have to type in the email address of all my students every single time. So one thing that I recommend that you could do, you could create a group. So I've done this in Outlook. I've created test group, and within test group, there's a bunch of people, right? I can expand that out and see all the people in that group. Now, the way I created that was if I go back into my Outlook and into the regular mail section, I've got new items up here, more items, just find contact group. Within contact group, that's where you can create the groups and add all of your students as long as you know their email address. Now, if you don't know the email address of the students, you can, as long as you can provide that link to them, and by the way, in the WebEx Meetings desktop app, I've got this ability just to quickly copy that link, and then if I was to paste it somewhere, again, it's that same link that was on my web portal. So as long as you can get that, you can SMS it. You know, you can load it up into Connect if that's the way that you communicate with your students. As long as you can get them that link, when they click on that, it will start the meeting.
So Justin, one of the questions is, can this be used with the Google suite of products? Can we use this with Gmail and Google products in particular, WebEx?
I believe we can, but the department standard, I believe they use Outlook as the standard mail client. I'd have to have a bit of a look into that because we don't have a lot of customers here, but certainly anyone who receives that email can join from any mail client, from any web browser, from any device. That's what's so good about WebEx, is that it offers anyone to be able to join from any device they might have. So we've clicked on that meeting link. The first thing that I like to do is just click on settings down here. Make sure I've selected, for example, my headset, if I'm using one. You know, same for microphone. And if you've got multiple cameras like me, you want to make sure you get the right webcam selected down there. Cool. Now we're ready to go. I can hit Start Meeting. And this is the first screen you're kind of greeted with, right, when you join the WebEx. There's nobody joined in yet. And in fact, I recommend that what you guys do is have a play around with this and just get familiar with the layout without having any students in here. Just start the meeting yourself and have a play. Now, one of the most common windows that you want to use, the menu items, is participants, this little man icon down here at the bottom. And that is where I'm going to be able to control all of the students. So, for example, I can assign some privileges, for example, them being able to share their screen. I can mute that person. I can unmute them and allow them to talk. I can mute everyone in the call. This is going to be really handy. Like, for example, Rocco would have done this earlier in the meeting just so that we stop all the extra noise in the class. I can also stop someone's video, right, if I don't want them to have their video showing up. So I would say participants menu is one of the most important menus to use. Now what I'm going to now do is I'm going to join this using my mobile device to simulate a student. So if you just give me a minute there, I'm going to join.
So Justin, one of the questions is, can students unmute themselves and restart the video?
Sorry, Rocco, my audio switched over for a sec then. What was that?
Can students unmute themselves and switch on the video again?
Look, in WebEx meetings, yes, the students can unmute themselves if they want to talk. Right? If you would rather have a hard mute where they cannot unmute themselves, then we're going to look at Training Center, which is a bit of an add-on product, but we're going to show you that at the end. I want to get you guys familiar with this platform first before we move on to Training Center. So there you can see we've got Steve. Steve can turn on his video, and I'll allow him to do that now. So there you can see Steve's joined. Steve is actually me. I can do things like stop his video at that point. Yeah, so this is the participants menu. Other functions we might want to use, and you guys are probably using it right now, is the chat. So I can chat directly to Steve, or in this little box here, I can chat to everyone, right? So you get to control where your chat is directed through that little button there. Okay, the next one I want to move on to is sharing. So this is going to be really, really important for any meeting, really, when you want to share either an application on your desktop, or what I most commonly use is just sharing my entire screen. So there, I've got two monitors at the moment. I can choose which monitor I would like to share, and they can see everything that's on my screen. Really easy to use. Now you'll also notice up here, under this Share Content menu, we've got the ability to optimize this for really crisp and clear text and images, or we can optimize it for motion and video. So let's say I wanted to share a YouTube clip to my students. I'm going to hit that optimize for motion and video. And as you can see, it also sends across your audio. And then I'd go to share my screen, and it would work really well for something like YouTube. Whereas if I was just using PowerPoint, for example, I could go optimize for text and images, and then share my screen, and that would work better for a PowerPoint. Okay, what else can we do down here? So as well as sharing my screen or any application, if I scroll all the way down to the Share Content screen, I can create a whiteboard. And now I'll spend a bit of time on whiteboards. I can also share a file. So if there was a PDF file, for example, that I wanted to share with the whole class, I would use this sharing menu right down the bottom and go Share File. But for now, I think what we want to do is play around with the whiteboard. So I'm going to hit Share on the whiteboard. All of the students can see this, and they can participate if you let them. Now, there's all kinds of features within the whiteboard. Now, yellow is not a great visible color, so I'm going to change it. And I'm going to say, all right, this is a maths problem. What I can then do is use things like lines. So in this maths problem, I'm going to choose a line. I'm going to draw the triangle here. I can also do shapes, so squares, ovals, ticks and crosses.
Sorry to interrupt. Just
Sure,
one question.
sure.
Just in regards, can I send a Word document, have the students edit it, and send it back via share?
Yes, so let's jump into that after whiteboarding. I'll show you how you can upload a file for the students to be able to download. Okay, we've got free drawing, an eraser. Now you can save this at the end as a PDF. So I've got PDF as an option down here, and I can distribute that to the students. Say, for example, I could upload this into Connect so that students could look at that later. Now, there's also an arrow here. So this is handy when you've got students and you want them to be involved in the whiteboard. I just click that little button at the top here called Allow Annotation. It allows students to actually participate, and they can drop in their arrows just so you can show that where they're looking or where they're clicking around. This also helps me demonstrate to the students where I want them to focus, so I can use that arrow point. It's quite handy.
So one of the other questions is, can I use the whiteboard before the meeting? Can I prepare a whiteboard before the meeting?
Absolutely, you can. So I can come in here without anyone in here. I can name my whiteboard. So this is Maths Problem 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that. Okay. Save it as a PDF, for example. And that's going to remain on the background of the screen until I choose to actually close it. So as you can see, closing this will remove the content from the participant's view. Do you want to save the current document? Yes. At that point, I can choose to save it as well. Oops. Okay, so now we can see that the whiteboard's gone, and I can share whiteboard again. and in fact, at this point, it's created a new whiteboard. So what you probably want to do, you don't want to close it. If you want to pre-populate that whiteboard, I wouldn't close it. I'd probably just keep it open.
So Justin, is there a maths editor that we can use in WebEx?
A maths, sorry? No. So basically, you're limited by the capabilities we have in the whiteboard down the left here, unfortunately. Now, if you did want to share something that was more complicated and then draw over the top, let me show you how you do that. So I would go, okay, I want to share Microsoft Word. And then what I could do is I could select the annotate button, right? And then I can use all the whiteboarding tools on top of any document that you can think of, right? And in fact, I'd probably encourage you to do it this way. Therefore, you're not spending all this time playing around with creating whiteboards in WebEx. You've already pre-done all of the content. You're just drawing on top of it, just adding things to it.
So Justin, one of the questions was, can I create multiple pages in a whiteboard, or do I need to create multiple whiteboards?
You have to create separate whiteboards each time. So you're limited by the real estate that you have on the screen. When you've filled that up, what you want to do is just share another whiteboard. And then you can flick between the different boards. Okay.
And Justin, one of the other questions was, if I have multiple people within the room and I don't want my students seeing each other, can I switch off their profiles so they don't see each other who have entered the room? So for example, if we've got older students in a younger class.
Yeah, look, you've got a bunch of privileges that you can do with your students. Let me just close this off and show you. So for a start, you can just right-click on the student and you can do all of these features here. You can stop their video. If you don't want them seeing each other, you can go up to this meeting icon at the top, going options. And you have some more options here. For example, I can stop anyone from being able to turn on their video. I can disable chat. I can disable file transfers. But if you wanted them not to be able to see each other, then that's going to be a part of the Training Center add-on module. So I'll show you that at the end once we've covered all the basics. And I think the other question was, can I share a file? And let's try and find a Word document. Here we go. So we can upload a Word document here. One, it's going to just load it directly into the share. And I believe also the students would be able to download that as well. And they should be able to upload their own copy of the document after it's been completed on their local computer. Okay. All right, so that's sharing. Sharing is really powerful. You'll use it nearly every meeting. Moving on to the recording capability. So this is really important. Say the student was sick, couldn't attend the class. All I have to do to record is hit this little icon, start recording. That's going to automatically save it into the WebEx portal. So you'll be able to retrieve these recordings from your web portal at educationwa.webex.com. And once you've recorded, it's taking a bit long at the moment, but you can pause the recording in the middle of the session. Say you're having a break and you didn't want to record, you can hit pause and that will pause, and you can resume it as well. Now, if you wanted some more options on the recorder, up in the meeting menu item at the top here, I can make some choices, right? I can choose to store this in the WebEx web portal in the cloud, or I can save it directly to my computer. Now, what that will allow you to do is perhaps upload it to something like Connect later on. Alternatively, if you record in the cloud, you can retrieve those recordings. This is my web portal here. So you retrieve the recordings from here. You'll also get an email saying when your recording is ready to retrieve. Here's all the meetings that I've recorded, how long they went for, what's the size of the file when I download it. Now, you don't have to download it because all of these are available through a web link, and the students could just click on the web link, and what they'll find usually when the system is not running under immense pressure as it is at the moment with COVID-19, you'll be able to play the recording directly from the web page, and it will give you transcriptions. It'll give you, let me just try and find one which might work better.
While Justin's finding out, one of the questions that's come through is, can I set up private emails with the parents to show their students how to use this on their computer, or try to set for the parents to set it up for their students on the computer? What I'd probably suggest is when you're doing an invite or scheduling an invite to the students, you can schedule one to yourself first, and then I'd say forward that invite as a BCC to each of the parents. So then you'll find that each of the parents will get their own private invite, but it'll be the links will be completely the same. It just depends on the times that you want to schedule those invites for each of those parents.
Yep.
Justin, do you want to add anything to that at all, or?
So you want to get it to the parents, yeah. So like Rocco said, I create a meeting, invite people. I'd probably use the BCC field. So let's invite Rocco. I've lost it now. I don't know where my BCC's gone, but usually you've got a little blind carbon copy so that they won't be able to see each other. So you can send it to all the parents, add your personal meeting room, and they'll all receive the link, but they won't be able to see each other in the two field there.
Yeah, Justin, you just forward it as a normal email, and they'll have the invite in the link. You just have to provide the time in the email.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So there you go, you can forward that. Okay. Now back to WebEx. So apologies, I couldn't share the recording. My account's being funny at the moment. Some of the other features that you might see is the ability to lock the meeting. I think this is important. If you know all of your students are in the meeting, you hit lock, that means that nobody else can join. And in fact, I'll give you a little demonstration. If I right click on Steve, move him to the lobby, you can see because the room is locked, he's actually waiting in that lobby there. He's coming up in my participant list as an orange, alert, and then I can admit him into the lobby. Now, anyone who tries to join while the meeting is locked is going to get pushed into that lobby, okay, until you unlock the meeting. Now, if you want to bring in other people who may not be on the original invite, I'm going to hit this copy link. And again, what you're going to see, it's the same meeting link that was used from the web portal. Rocco, have we got someone unmuted? I hear an echo.
No, we're fine.
Okay. Okay, moving on. So polling is a part of the more advanced features within WebEx. So what we can do, I can create either a short answer or a multiple choice poll. In this case, let's do a multiple choice. What do you think of the book? Enter, it was great. It sucked. So I can then set some options on how long we want to spend on this poll. And that timeline will count down once we open the poll up. I'm going to hit open poll here. Now you can see as the teacher the remaining time on that poll. And all of the students will pop up on their main screen a questionnaire. So I'm going to say it was great. So now we can see 100% of people have answered and 100% of people said it was great. You can save those results later as well. So if I go save, I can save it here. You can share the results with all the attendees when you click that button and hit apply. What it should do is raise a browser window where you can share the results with everyone. You can also save it as a text file. So if you want to have this for later, you can see we've got the individual participants and how they answered to the poll.
So Justin, one of the questions was if they didn't get the actual invitation but wanted to try joining the meeting, they can do it by a copy of the link, or you can invite them during the meeting.
Correct. So we've got this invite and remind option as well. Where I can send an email to Rocco. That will send out the invitation to him. So another thing that I think is going to be really important for you guys is layout control. Now at the top right-hand side of the video window, what you'll be able to see is a little layout button, and you should see it in your WebEx meeting right now. You can do things like a 5x5 grid view, where you can see all of the teachers at the same time, so all of the students. So I encourage you to have a play around with that now. Now, I think I've covered all of the basic meeting functionality. Is there any questions at this point, Rocco?
No, you're all fine. I think let's delve into a little bit around Training Centre.
Great. I'm going to end that now. You can choose to save all the files at that point. Okay, let's get onto Training Centre now. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into educationwa.webex.com, and we're going to get here to the home page. From within there, along the bottom left-hand side, you're going to see WebEx training. Okay. When we click into there, hopefully my network is working at this point in time. Just try closing the browser. Okay, looks like my homepage at the moment isn't loading. Rocco, how are you finding it on your side? Do you mind logging in and having a look?
Now I can actually see your web page. Oh, as in, do you want me to log into mine?
Yeah, that would be good.
Sure.
At the moment. So the scheduling happens from your educationwa.webex.com homepage. Down the bottom left, you'll have Training Centre. Now, when you schedule a Training Centre, you will receive an invitation email. And let me just find one from the past. I think I got one in here. No, that's a regular meeting. How's your portal going, Rocco?
Yeah, it's a little bit slow at the moment. There could be some technical difficulties at the moment.
Okay. Unfortunately, it means I don't think we can demonstrate Training Centre. So we did demonstrate it earlier on today. So we do have a recording of that part, which I highly recommend that you guys have a look at. So that will be posted on the Solutions IT website. Sarah, where would we find that?
We'll send out the link after the meeting, Justin.
Yeah.
In
Apologies,
regards to it.
guys.
So one of the other things is, apologies for the technical difficulties. We've got a number of sessions being run over today and tomorrow. So I'd suggest probably coming to one of our afternoon sessions today, or also the one tomorrow. One of the questions, Justin, that was asked was, if you could, what are the differences between one or the other? Would I go for meetings or Training Centre? Which one will be best? And also ask, this has been asked from an early childhood teacher with a small school, so they want to use something that's consistent.
Oh, look, for a really basic meeting in early childhood, I would recommend using the basic WebEx meeting as we've been showing today. Now, the reason is, and I'll show you now. So now that it's working, WebEx training down the bottom here, I've just clicked that. There's a lot more options in WebEx training. So I'm just going to create one. We're going to call it DOE training demo. And in fact, there's a lot of options around things like, I can require students to register so we can track attendance even before the session. I can have multiple presenters or panelists. I can control what type of features go on within this training session. And let me show you more, because we can do all this when we're in the session as well. So breakout sessions, etc., etc. I can customize the email templates. I can upload course material before the session starts. I can add tests. So as you can see straight away, there's a lot more functionality in here. What I can do, let me just start one right now. I think instant session, start session. So that's going to load up the WebEx training client. Now it looks similar, but a little different, right? There's a lot more options here. Now, what I'll do, I'd like to bring in Steve, the student, just so I can demonstrate some of the additional features that you can do. And just give me a moment for that to come through the email system. Okay, here we go. So Steve's connecting now. Great, so Steve's here. I'm going to turn on Steve's video. So you can see we've got Steve. You've got a bunch of these options here that are heavily related to learning. So let's say I muted all of the attendees because I didn't want to hear them, but I wanted them to be able to raise their hand to ask a question. So what they can do, they can hit that little raise hand icon. Me as the teacher, I can see that they've raised their hand. I can then right click on them and choose to unmute them. Right, so I can manually unmute the person. You've also got these other kind of just basic icons saying yes, no. You can quickly, poll the class what they think without creating a flurry of messages or a flurry of audio and video coming into the session. You can just do a quick little pulse survey using the plus and the minus. You can also do some emojis here. And some of the stuff around attentiveness. So this is a really interesting feature. So if you want to judge how attentive your students are being, at the moment I can see they're 100% attentive. And that's because, I don't know if you can see it on my video stream here, I've got WebEx open on my iPhone here. Now, if I was to close WebEx and go into another app, as you can see, the attentiveness indicator has turned to red. So I know that Steve is not being attentive, and there's a little exclamation mark saying this attendee is not paying attention. Okay, so that may be good for your larger classes. As soon as I open up WebEx again, it goes to green and that little icon disappears. So that's quite useful. What I can then do is I can assign privileges to either single people or the entire class. And unlike Meeting Center, which we saw before, there's a lot more options here. So I don't want, for example, I don't want students to be able to see the other students in the attendee list. I only want them to see the number of attendees, so I can click that. Now, within this participant panel, students won't be able to see each other. However, the teacher will be able to see all of the students lined up in the list here. What other things can we do? We have the ability to say whether a student can share content, whether they can have video turned on or off, whether they can record. Pretty much anything that you can do within WebEx can be set as an attendee privilege. And I'll give you another example. With the chat functionality, I can make it so either the students can all chat amongst each other by clicking that, or they can only chat to me as the teacher. Now this comes down to how you want to run your class, because we may want to encourage chat amongst the students, or we think it's just going to be a disruption, so we can disable that. Okay, next thing I want to show you about Training Center is the ability to do breakout sessions. So let's say I've got 30 people in this class. What I can do is I can assign either manually or automatically, based on group sizes that you desire, different breakout sessions for them to go and do a bit of group work for, say, 15 minutes. And then at the end of the breakout session, you can reconvene everyone back into the main room and they can present their findings of the group session. So this is really good for group work. The teacher can also join in the individual breakout sessions just to check in how they're going, and he or she can float in and out of the different breakout sessions. Now, do we have any more questions at that point, Rocco?
So one of the questions is, as a host, do you have access if participants want to chat to one another?
Yeah, exactly. So what we want to do is we want to kind of right-click on the attendees. We want to be able to assign privileges. And down here in the communication section, we've got that chat control. So do I want the students to be able to chat to each other? Yes. So that is in terms of a typing type of chat. So hi, this type of chat. If you want actual audio in the session, then that's purely controlled by your ability to mute people, right? So if you don't want them to be able to talk, I would do mute on entry or mute all, and they won't be able to actually speak to each other using audio. Hopefully that's answered the question.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Justin.
Now, so I'm done with the demo, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to wait around for a couple of minutes.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining and attending today. I hope that's quite useful. As we said, Solutions IT will be having the recordings. There'll be a bunch of collateral that from user guides that both Solutions IT and the department will be providing you, and we'll also be putting additional information for the department to post to you guys as well.
I hope that was useful.
I can say thank you for everyone that's providing great feedback. It's much appreciated.
Well, I'll see you back here again to do it all again at 4 o'clock, Rocco. And Sarah.
Will do. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks.